All right, look, let's move on, and let's move on to Ange Postecoglou, because the club, if you want to believe it, from various journalists, Dan Kilpatrick and Matt Law and all these journalists have all come out and said the club are backing Ange Postecoglou through this period, and they will give them every chance to get success at this football club, or to turn it around, let's say.
It's a pretty extensive press briefing for it to not be true.
Look, it could be either true or it could be a vote of confidence. It could be one or the other. It doesn't have to be true. You've seen it before. Every time something comes out in the press, you're like, oh, it's the dreaded vote of confidence.
That's part of. I mean, I'm partly being facetious, but I think when a club actively makes a statement, then I think that is something.
The club
to
haven't
be worried
actively
about.
given a statement, though.
Exactly. I'm saying that's when to be worried. I'm saying when there's a press briefing saying he's not in trouble, when we're not worried about him, and the players are behind him. I think we have to when there's numerous journalists coming out saying it. Usually this time our players in the squad are not quiet about what they think, about complaining. We usually hear a lot of negativity coming from within the club at this point in a manager's tenure. If we are to be believed that it's the end of it. At this point, it's different. I mean, we can't deny that.
It's still up to each and every person to believe what they want to believe, So whether you believe it or not.
Okay, fine.
Look, that's the line of the club. That's the line of the journalists at this moment in time. I'll start with you, Brian. Do you think it's the correct move from Tottenham Hotspur to have that line? Is it right to be backing the manager at this moment in time?
Listen, like Sim said, I don't think this hasn't been official from Tottenham Hotspur. It hasn't been like the good old days where the chairman would come out, Sky Sports News, and go, right, listen, we fully back our manager. But I think we're at the point now that I think this is going to change on a game-by-game basis. Should Rangers be a defeat, the speculation and the intensity could get a lot higher. If we lose to Southampton, and you guys will know from travelling the length and breadth of the country, Southampton is forget the whole Conte thing and the last time played there. Southampton has always been a tricky place for us away. It seems to be always a place where we fail to get over the line more often than not. Could it intensify then? Then you've got United in the cup, and then obviously Liverpool. I think this is changing by a game-by-game basis. I have stood by Ange like I have stood by every single manager, but I came on here after the Chelsea game and spoke to Marlon and Amir, and I said, if we look at it, take it away whether you think Ange is the right man or not, football is a results-based business. That's how you keep your job, by getting good results. And at the moment, it's not happening. You've seen all these stats that keep coming out. We've now, since Chelsea, the last two games, we've lost more than we've won. All these stats, and these stats come out, and it annoys me that these amount of stats come out, to put it in a bad way. Also, the other way, to shine on it in a good way. I think he's really running out of time. I think if we get a couple of bad results against Rangers and Southampton, I think the club might come out and give him the dreaded vote of confidence. That's my personal opinion. That's what I think Spurs might do. I hope I'm wrong in both the results and what they do, but we'll see.
No, but Brian,
I don't think Spurs ever do that, though. Do Spurs ever do that? Come out and actually give a vote of confidence, like a public statement? I don't think that's Spurs' style.
No, we don't really do that.
I think this is Spurs, like to do it through journalists. I think that's more Spurs' style.
Maybe. Is it the right thing to do? Listen, it's hard for me to say. Like I said, it's a results-based business. Do you know what? I'm not going to sit on the fence anymore. I will say, yeah, I think it is the right thing to do. I think it is the right thing to do. Like we were just saying about Romero coming out and saying, we want to have more insight of what's going on in the football club, whether it's good or bad. You can't have it both ways. You just want to hear that everything's all champagne and Skittles, or everything is, oh my God, it's all doom and gloom. I think it is the right thing to do. I think it is the right thing to do. If you want an answer, Sim.
You'll probably be surprised what I'm about to say, but I actually agree with that. I do think it's the right thing to do as well, if they're actually genuine about it. Because look, I've had my say on Ange Postecoglou over the past week. I've heavily criticised him a number of times, questioning his future at the club and questioning the direction this club's going under him. But if Spurs, it's inside the club, if Spurs feel like he's the right man for the job, if Spurs feel like, or if the players feel like he's the right man for the job, then they got to stand by their man. But I don't want to hear this coming out and then after a few losses, then say, oh, just sack him. Like if they're gonna stand behind him, then stand behind him in a real way and start backing him realistically and properly in the transfer windows and get him the right tools that he needs for the job. If they think he's the right man for the job, I am questioning that obviously. But look, I'm not in the background of the club. I don't see the workings in everyday life at Tottenham Hotspur. So I see a lot of flaws in what Spurs doing. I've seen a lot of red flags over the past year. But like I said, if Spurs think he's the right man for the job, then they got to back him. What are you saying, Sean?
I think the idea of sacking him right now is outrageous. I think it's outrageous that we're even thinking about it, if I'm entirely honest. The guy's still in 3 cups. Because we sit 11th in the league and we're still 5 points off of 6th or whatever it is. It's a very tight league. It's very unpredictable. Everyone's leveled up this year. Big teams can beat small teams and vice versa. Yeah, it's one of those things. Right? Is there concerns? 100%. Is there a lack of willingness in the manager to embrace what we are all thinking? No, right? And it's like stubbornness to a T. Like, is he going to die on the hill? Well, probably, right? But in terms of like, are we getting the arrows ready already? I'm not sure we should be. I don't think he's not done anything anywhere near enough. And most of the people that want change all the time, when it doesn't work out, when a new thing doesn't work out, it's not crazy to think that those people that want Levy out are also some of the most likely people that want Ange out, because if Ange goes, if they're pushing that narrative of get him out, then guess what? That's the next opportunity to say it's a clear failure on the part of Daniel Levy, right? Whereas, whilst that story hasn't ended, then this process is still ongoing, and ultimately you're still in all 3 competitions at this stage, or that you have any realistic chance of winning. And if people think that we're in a title challenge, like, we're not. Let's be honest, we're not there yet. We're nowhere near being able to be consistent enough. But are we good enough on our day to beat the best? 100%. Are we good enough? Are we bad enough on our day to lose to the worst? 100%. And that is a problem that has to be figured out. It's a mentality thing, and Ange professes to be a monster of the mentality game. So I think you give him enough rope. You let him figure it out. At this stage, what benefit are you going to... Where are you going to go now? If you get rid of Ange right now, where do you go in the managerial market? Who is it that's really pulling up trees? Gasparini in Atalanta? He's 67 years old. He's not going to leave a good thing, right? Where you go to the Luton guy? He turned down 2 other jobs in the summer. Like, there's no reason or rationale in my mind why it makes sense to pull the trigger on sacking a guy because he's had a volatile start to this season. I get it. There's a lot of concerns. I get it that the lack of his embracing of some obvious variety can come across as pig-headed, and I think he's making a rod for his own back in that regard, and I think he makes it very easy to have the finger pointed at him. When you don't acknowledge or embrace the idea of change because you're stubborn on that degree, then I think that you're inviting that kind of pressure. So I think that I understand why people want to go that direction, but I think it makes no sense. We at least give him the season, but even if people want to call that too long, you at least let the quarterfinal play out in the cup. You let the finish this round of the Europa League, see where we're at, and the FA Cup, right? And if by February we're out of the competition, we're out of all 3 competitions, for example, then, and the league is still relatively kind of poor, then obviously there's a decision to be made. But again, at the moment there's no plan B in terms of managerial access that I think makes any sense, and I just think it's far too early to call time on this guy, and I think it's outrageous if we do. And those that are calling for his head are all too frequently looking forward to the next time to say another failure by Daniel Levy. So again, analyse and scrutinise the motivations of those that say what they say, because there's always an agenda somewhere, and I think it's too early to call it on Ange. I want to figure it out. I really want to figure it out.
Sean, do you feel...
Go on, Ben, you go. I'll go.
Sean, do you feel he is the right man for the job?
I don't know yet. I don't know. Listen, I want it to work. I would love it if he could break the mold. I 100% think that there is a reality check that needs to happen. That there is a reason why nobody else plays that version of football all the time without any consideration for nuance. And every single manager in world football who happens to be a bit more pragmatic and consider the opposition and where you're playing and why you're playing and how you're playing and who you have available and where there's weaknesses, the SWOT, and all of the fact that he doesn't seem to care about any of that stuff and thinks that he's got a recipe for success in his vision of football regardless, I think is incredibly naive at this level. Maybe at lower levels of football, there's a lack of resources, there's a lack of talent that he was competing against that has the ability to pick that system apart. And at this level, that's not the case, right? In any walk of life, the higher up the ladder you go, the more optimized and efficient the systems are. And I think that you're giving up unnecessary percentage points in your margins of error by not looking to take advantage of other teams' weaknesses or for not considering whether they're going to take advantage of yours. Like, to me, it's madness. However, like I say, so do I have concerns, Ben? I share your concerns, man. 100% I do. 100% I think that it's in all likelihood probably not going to work out, but you don't know yet. I think to sack him before he's even left one competition that you had any chance of winning is just so unfair. You give the guy enough rope and we'll figure it out, right? If he hangs himself with it, so be it. But if he doesn't, and if he goes on and creates a one trophy, right, one trophy, and he becomes the most successful manager in Tottenham's history under Daniel Levy, if it happens to be of a higher profile than the Carabao Cup, and if it's the Carabao Cup, he joins Ramos, and that's 3 games away in the case of the League Cup. 3 games, Manchester United, and then hopefully you get lucky in the semi-final draw, and who knows, we're capable of beating anybody on our day. I just think you cannot sack this guy right now. It's madness to say that you should. In my
Sure,
opinion.
I just want to quickly say when you say you got to get, I know a lot of Levy out people, including myself, that
you don't say.
Well known within the community for being where we stand, that have completely backed Ange the entire way. There are a lot of us that have been. We need to manage to stay the test of time. I know what you're saying. I know what you're getting at there, but there are a lot of us.
Of course, mate, Brian, mate. Like, when I say about the Levy, I'm not talking about everyone, man.
I know. I just want to know, because what happens is then it starts getting wires crossed. I'm not saying you and me. I'm saying then it goes out there. You said this.
99% of the people that I stream with are Levy outers. Right? All of my friends in the community are Levy outers. I don't have any problem with people that are Levy out. I have problems with people that tell others this is how you should feel, and if you don't do it the way I'm doing it, then that's what I have an issue with. But I don't have an issue with anyone for wanting Levy out. I've got no. I support your protest, Brian. Do you remember 2 years ago I was like, when you were going to your the deadline day thing, I was telling everyone on my Tottenham walks, go and support them. Go and big up to you guys. It's important that you get your voice heard. But I don't personally see the value in it. I don't think there's a single experience or a single example of a Premier League club that's ever had their owner sell the club directly because of ownership protests. So I don't see the outcome that you guys want at any point other than when Daniel Levy gets his money. But that doesn't mean I don't support the right to do it. I absolutely encourage you guys to do what you want.
Didn't it? Didn't it, Sean? It happened with Spurs with Alan Sugar?
No.
I mean, he spoke about it, though.
I know my dad was the stockbroker for that deal, Matt. So I know I know what happened with the Alan Sugar deal. Terry Venables sold his stock via my dad's company and pissed Alan Sugar off to the point where he couldn't buy the stake that Terry Venables wanted to sell, and therefore he lost control, and it went to ENIC in the end via a third party. So it wasn't down to protests, it was down to Alan Sugar didn't have the opportunity to buy the stake that Terry Venables owned, and that forced his hand in a different direction. It had nothing to do with a forced issue.
But I swear I heard an interview with him talking about, people were outside his house protesting and all this kind of stuff, and he just didn't want to deal with it anymore.
He took the price that he got for his club. Took the price that he wanted for his club, mate. There's absolutely zero evidence of any direct, I will take a price point that is below market value to get out of this. There's a club, I forget the club. There was a club in, was it Northampton Town? I'm not sure which one it was. Their owner went to prison for, I'm going to say either tax fraud, embezzlement, or something more sinister. I'm not even going to say it because I might get you demonetized. But he went to prison for 5 years, and the entire fan base, get this absolute bozo out of my club. He, in the most disgusting circumstances possible, he still went, I'm only going to go when someone pays me the right money. So it's like businessmen don't.
Same with
like,
Mike Ashley as well. That happened with
Exactly,
Mike
Mike Ashley. There's a never-ending stream of protesters that give themselves a pat on the back when the deal happens and says it wouldn't have happened without us. And I just don't think that's the case. I think that they go when they're ready and when the price is met, and it won't be any different with Daniel
Could
Levy.
they be forced to put it on the market though, and maybe if they didn't want to sell, and then they potentially want to sell?
Could they be forced to put it on the market?
Yeah. Let's say a club owner doesn't want to sell. He's adamant he wants to stay, and then he gets pressured by fans outside his house. The horrible things that maybe Alan Sugar went through, and maybe other people have been through, and then he just says, "You know what? Fuck this. If the right offer comes in, I will sell."
But that's the key part. If the right offer comes in, I will sell. If the right offer comes in with Daniel Levy, he will sell. Right? We know he's looking for investment. He just. I don't think, and listen, look, maybe there's a difference if we saw what happened, not to get off topic, but we saw what happened in New York last week, the healthcare CEO who apparently his company didn't pay the insurance policy of someone's, whatever, and some assassin goes and puts a bullet in his head. So there's obviously, there's circumstances in which I'm sure certain levels of pressure would maybe force the hand, but are we really invoking that kind of activity here, that we should make this thing, you feel that strongly about Daniel Levy that we should take measures to a level where he's fearful of his safety? I don't think that's look, I don't think Ange has done anything worth sacking, and I don't think Daniel Levy has done anything near worth invoking some fear mongering where you're going to suggest protesting outside his house or making his life uncomfortable. I just think that that's unreasonable behaviour. So if that's what happens next, then I'm 100% going to distance myself from anything that's Levy out.
I will call this. Let me. I will confirm right here, right now. There is absolutely no plans whatsoever to go anywhere near his house. In fact, my group that did everything prior and has done it before absolutely
of course, I know,
and distanced themselves from anyone that plans to go to his place of to his house. The trading ground, Hotspur Way, Hotspur House, the inside and outside the stadium, fair goddamn game.
Yeah, 100%.
Peacefully, respectfully. So anyone thinking that, and especially, I've only got 5 minutes before I need to start work. The plan one coming up at the Liverpool game is going ahead and is obviously now getting a lot of traction. That is going to be planned and coordinated inside and outside the stadium. This is being done. I'm not going into all the details behind it. There's big accounts attached to this. The one thing that we had a big problem with last time was it the way we conducted ourselves? Was it the way I conducted myself? In some ways, I took responsibility for some of the things I did. The way I spoke to people, the way I tweeted. Sometimes I bit to trolls. Sometimes I went for bit. My errors. It's trial and error. This time being obviously spearheaded by Jay, and you've seen all the posters coming out and plans. This is being organised well. If you look at it from when we did it with Conte compared to where we are now, we've gone backwards as a football club. Not forget business, as a football club, since Conte's sacking or even Conte's hiring, we've gone backwards. We have gone backwards, and fans are fed up, and rightfully so. If you're not, that's each to your own. But just because people are not happy doesn't mean that, and they don't voice their concerns, doesn't mean that the people that are very unhappy don't have the right to voice theirs. And this has been building. This has been building, whether it be results, whether it be style of play, whether it be first team ready-made players, whether it be Ange adapting, whether it be ticket prices going up, wage bill going down, and all the financials that goes around, whatever may happen, it comes to the point now where Spurs fans are not wanting to go to games. Some people are throwing their season tickets away, not throwing it, giving up at the end of the season, or have been recently. People aren't taking their families, can't afford to take their families, and that's Premier League clubs all around, not just Tottenham Hotspur. And people have had enough. And after Bournemouth, there was calls to action. Then Chelsea, obviously, and again, a lot of people said in the stadium, "That's it. I'm gonna voice my opinion. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that." From what I've heard, there was one very minute Levy out chance started, which didn't go anywhere, and some hard man decided to write in a toilet because it's all this. Well, this time, before the Liverpool game, an hour before, there is a planned protest outside. There will be big people, don't say big people, but big accounts have got behind it. Big accounts want to be a part of it. Media have been made aware of it. And now what it comes down to is doing it the right way. Doing it the right way. And as I've said many, many a time, there's been many a time I have been Levy out since Martin Yole. People know that. 17 years. My fury is unrivaled, apart from some extreme people. Some people were Pochettino being fired. Some were the Super League. Some are right now. I don't care. I'm not one of those told you so. Why aren't you listening to me? I don't care if you've just switched to become Levy out. Well done. Thank you. Welcome aboard. Come and join. And that is a numbers game. When we had 200 people maximum outside a club shop, there's nothing. Since that time, if 400 people, and I'm just picking 400 at random, decide to come and now make that 600, that's a huge improvement. It's not where we need it to be. But if people have now started changing and want to actually voice an opinion, fair play to them. Welcome aboard. And thank you for coming to try and lend support to everyone. We're just getting to the point now where people have had enough. Will it force change? I'm a little bit with Sean. It'll be if he gets 4 billion, he pisses off. But what I will say with this,
Hold on.